welcome to Tabby Loves, the channel where I talk about the things that I love. I am Tabitha, and today we're going to be doing the 26 books I want to read in 2026. I've seen a lot of people doing this trend, and I wanted to participate because my main reading goal this year is to really make a dent in my physical TBR, so I picked 26 books off of my physical TBR. And my goal is to read them in 2026. So, without further ado, let's get into it. These are going to be in no particular order. So, they're just going to be in order in when I grab them. Anyway, let's get into it. Starting out, we're going to start this video with Empire of Shadows. This has been on my TBR for a while. Someone that I trust that recommends books, and I've read other books they've recommended and loved them, recommends this book heavily, and I am really excited to read it. This is definitely more of like a summer one, because I think this has to do with the main character putting like her scholarly reputation on the line to find some sort of tomb of some kind, which I always love an adventure story. I always love, especially an academic, like, backed adventure story, where it's like, oh, the academic and the explorer kind of combo. Love the mix. Next, The Names by Florence Knapp. It's probably Florence Knapp. I don't know why I'm struggling to say her name. The Names, it follows like these different timelines that are completely and only based on what name she chooses for her son, because I think she's in like an abusive relationship with her husband, and whatever name she decides to give this baby determines his future, with specifically relating to this abusive parent, I suppose. And this was from Book of the Month, and it just sounds so interesting, and I really wanted to get to it this year, but didn't have the opportunity, so I'm putting it on the list because I definitely want to read it sooner rather than later. Speaking of wanting to read something sooner rather than later, I also have Play Nice by Rachel Harrison. I've been wanting to read more Rachel Harrison. I only read one book of hers, which was Such Sharp Teeth, and at the time I wasn't that impressed with Such Sharp Teeth. However, I think it's because I was specifically looking for something else with that book and I didn't get it. But now that I know a little bit better what to expect from her writing, I want to dive into one of her other books. And again, this is a Book of the Month book, and I love this cover, like the little like haunted house design. You gotta love a haunted house story. Like, I am a huge sucker for a haunted house story. Anyway, next on this list, To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker. I loved, oh my god, I'm blanking on what her name is, or the name of the series is. Dragonfall, is that what it's called? Her dragon one? Oh, When the Moon Hatched. That's what it's called. I really liked When the Moon Hatched. I think also the sequel of that comes out soon this year. And I need to re-listen, or reread too, I mean, because I'm sorry. I want to reread When the Moon Hatched, and I think it would be best to do it as an audiobook because it is a long book to reread, and I can go through audiobooks a lot quicker. A lot of the series that I want to finish this year are going to be via audiobook, so I'm probably just going to tack that one on. But that being said, I want to explore some of this author's other works, and I hear this one is highly recommended, and it's been on my physical TBR for so long. I think it's been on my physical TBR longer than When the Moon Hatched, to be honest. So, and I heard it's like almost like a Rapunzel kind of retelling, and I love that. So, yeah. Next, Immortal Consequences. This one, I think, could potentially be a romantic-y, like, fave in the upcoming year. I don't know, because I feel like I haven't heard that much about it, but I think it's gorgeous. I think the sprayed edges are gorgeous, and the concept sounds really good. I think it's also kind of more dark academia in the afterlife, which is all you need to sell me on a book, to be honest. So I just want to get ahead on that. On the exact opposite end of the timeline spectrum, I also want to read Daughter of the Blood. This is an old kind of romantic-y series. I don't even know when this book was published. Oh, one moment. I'm sure it tells me here. Hold on. It was published 1998. not as old as I thought it was, because I've read some like fantasy series that were set in like the 60s. So this one is like late 90s, early 2000s. But I heard that this series is potentially what inspired ACOTAR, and I loved ACOTAR, so I would love to read, obviously, the inspiring authors. The inspiring authors will always be ready than the people they're inspired by, or always be better, I'm sorry, than the people they're inspired by. And since I love SJM's writing, I'll probably really enjoy this. And old fantasy, sometimes it just hits different. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on to the next one. Another book of the month pick. But this one is also very high on my list of how badly I want to get to it. And that is Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews. I loved Don't Let the Forest In by this author. And so I've been dying to sink into this one as well. This kind of botanical horror, forest rot kind of vibes. And I think this author is also publishing more books in this upcoming year. And so I want to kind of stay up on their, like, not discography, that's more music, but like their backlog, I guess. Or I want to keep up with them as they're publishing. I've been really enjoying their work, and I want to continue to enjoy their work. We're gonna pivot just a touch to books that are on my 26 books to read in 2026 list that have been on these kind of lists before that I didn't get to. But this year, this is the year that I'm gonna get to them. And we're gonna start off with a well-renowned book, and that is The Spear Cuts Through Water. I've heard such good things about this story. It's a standalone, which is definitely ideal sometimes. And I've just heard such good things. And the story is still very intriguing. And I can't wait to finally read this year. In a similar vein, Tess of the Road. I've told the story about this series on my, I'm upside down, I'm sorry. On my book talk before, but I might as well tell it here, is I bought the second book to this because the second book looked really interesting. And I didn't realize it was the second book until I was looking more closely at the back of it after I got home, and I was like, this is the second book in a series. So I went and I got the first book in the series, but it looks like there's a dragon in it. I think this is like a YA, almost like a quirky female lead kind of fantasy. And you know what? Those are a classic for a reason, so I'm really excited to eventually get to this. I don't see anyone talking about this book, so I've heard no opinions for or against either which way. Speaking of books that have been literally on every list I've ever made, Iron Widow. I've been meaning to get to this book for so many years now. It's actually sad. I think the author from this book is really cool. I've seen her social media posts, and I just think like she's fantastic as a person, and I've just been really meaning to dive into this story. I just haven't gotten around to it. I haven't gotten to it, but they're definitely going to be a priority, especially because in upcoming months I want to do a little bit something with the TBR wheel, and I want to do like TBR prompts sort of thing, like put a bunch of prompts on the wheel and then spin the wheel. I could do a TBR jar, but I don't have a jar, and writing out that many prompts is too painful, so I'm going to do a wheel instead. But beside the point. Again, another book that I've been meaning to get to for years since it's been published is Murtagh. I have read and loved Aragon. I'm going to be doing a reread of it this year. Like, that's one of my reading buddy goals, is to reread this series with my friend Rachel. It's going to be her first time reading it. And since I haven't read Murtagh yet, I'm going to be rereading the series up to reading Murtagh for the first time. It's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe I'll do like a little reading vlog about rereading that series, because it's such a classic from my childhood, and I've reread it before as an adult, but I'd love to reread it again. I love a dragon writing book. And then the last little group for this segment of books that have been on this list for a while, but I'm definitely going to get to this year. Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series. This was on my list that I definitely wanted to read last year, and I didn't get to it. But I've been dying to dive in to Brandon Sanderson's worlds, and I've always heard this is the best place to start. And also, Fantasy Fangirls, they have a spin-off called Fantasy Fanfellas, and they're doing Mistborn right now, and I would love to start listening to them. So, yeah. Alright, moving on. This book came out at the end of 2024, and I have been dying to read it ever since. Long Live Evil. It's kind of like the main character, she is actually not from this world originally, and she's like dying from some sort of disease in a hospital, and she's given a second chance, but she gets put into her favorite fantasy series, but as the villain. So I think this would just be right up my alley. And if you know, you know, and if you don't, I'm not going to tell you. Sorry, not sorry. I'm not usually a gatekeeper, but it's personal. Anyway, I also want to read Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. I also kind of want to read this whole trilogy this year. I only own the first book right now, though, which is definitely a hindrance in my plan, but I need to read some of my these other physical books first. But I do want to continue my Realm of the Elderlings journey, because I've definitely read the first trilogy, the Assassin's Apprentice trilogy. I think it's called like the Farseer trilogy, but beside the point. But I've been wanting to dive into the next like little segment. Again, just haven't gone around to it, but I'm going to make myself get around to it this year. You know, another one that's been on the list for a while. That's the common thread I try to make around all of these, is they all had to be ones that I have been on this list forever. And that is a Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Like, Grady Hendrix, I've read one book of his that I've loved, and one book of his that I haven't really loved. So this one is going to be kind of like a deciding factor of whether or not I continue to read more of his works or not. Because I've heard good things about this one. And if I like this one, I'm going to continue on with more of his books. So there's a lot of pressure on her, but I think she can handle it. Next, this one I don't see anyone talking about, but the Haunted Forest Tour. I love a monster horror. That seems exactly what this is a monster horror. And that's honestly all I need to know about that. Like, it's gonna be a creepy forest, it's gonna have awful beasts, and there's nothing I love more than awful beasts. Sticking a little bit longer with horror too, there's also Gone to See the Riverman. This is a relatively short book. Like, there's no reason it's been on my TBR as long as it has. But I think this has to do with like a serial killer, and the main character is like obsessed with a serial killer, and she corresponds with him from jail or something like that, and she needs to do like some sort of favor for him. It's gonna be messed up, and that's what I'm here for. Another one that I've been meaning to get to for an ungodly amount of time, and that is Black Leopard Red Wolf. This is a fantasy, might even be more like sci-fi fantasy, but I think it's just fantasy. And it just, I think this has to do with like, there's like a shapeshifter too, or like it's like a bounty hunter kind of vibes, and he joins a ragtag group, something along those lines. But I think the hunter can smell magic, and this group reeks of it, that kind of thing. Lots of fun. I think I've been intimidated, and I've been scared to get into this, because sometimes fantasy books, especially bigger ones, I get really scared that they're gonna get boring, but I'm not gonna know until I dive in. So A Tempest of Tea. This one I actually didn't mean to ever, oh, there's a sticker here. I didn't mean to ever like buy a physical copy of, because I think it was available on like Kindle Unlimited, but I was influenced by a Barnes & Noble cashier when I was buying other books. I've been working on being better about telling people no, but it's okay. But anyway, I've been interested in this one. I want to say it's almost like a mystery, like true crime kind of book, but there's vampires in it, if I'm understanding correctly. It's something along those lines. I think there's some sort of mystery that needs to be solved, and the vampire world is a key part to it. Anyway, The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I do think 2 Octobers ago this was on my TBR for the month that I didn't get to, and then I just never picked it back up. I also had a friend that she started reading this, and she didn't like it and said it was boring. However, our reading tastes do differ sometimes, so I am going to check it out myself and see what I think. I'm actually listening to Ninth House by the same author, and I'm loving it, so that's giving me higher hopes for getting into this book this year. And it's honestly the main reason this book is on this list this year is because I'm enjoying Ninth House so much. So, A Discovery of Witches. I have heard there was a long time where I was hearing good things about this book, and then lately I've been hearing a lot of bad things about this book. But I kind of am interested in watching the show, but I obviously want to read the book before I give the show a chance. So she's here. She's on the TBR. You see how much I'm stacking them, that like they're starting to get into view of the camera? It's great. I only have like a few more left. Another newer release that's going on this little list here is Red City. I think this one is going to be another one that might potentially take off on Book Talk this year, and so I want to get ahead of the game by actually reading it. So, and this one also sounds just so good. Like, I am low-key, like, obsessed with the premise. Though sometimes books build a premise and they can't live up to them, so we're just gonna have to see. Finally, these last two books are part of the same series, so I'm going to include them together. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder and Good Girl, Bad Blood. These are two books. I think this series is actually like, I don't know if it's a trilogy or a like 4-book series, but my brother gave me these two books and I have yet to read them, and it was like 2 Christmases ago that he got them for me, so I definitely want to read them this year just to do my due diligence. These are no longer like in the popular flow of books, but I don't really care. So yeah, those are my 26 books that I want to read in 2026. I am really dedicated to making a dent in my physical TBR, because my TBR shelf is overflowing and I've got the room on my main shelf and they're just waiting for me to read the books, and I want to read the books. What messed me up last year is I kept on getting Kindle Unlimited books, and I kept on getting books from the library that were like ebooks that I was then put on my Kindle and reading, and the library books always took first priority, right? Because those are timed, like I have to finish them within a certain number of weeks. The problem is that I would find a book that I wanted to read and I would just immediately put it on hold, which put it in front of all of these. So yeah. Anyway, if you like the video, give it a like, leave a comment, tell me some of the books that you want to read in 2026. Were any of these books on your list? You gotta let me know in the comments. Thanks for joining me. I love you guys. Bye.